What's happening, everybody? It's Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Ball Sports Network. Thank you guys for the continued support. Continue to like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Now, Steve Nash is the new head coach of the Brooklyn Bedford-Stuyvesant, the livest ones, Brooklyn Nets, over in Brooklyn, New York. He gets the job with no coaching experience, and there's a bunch of controversy or a bunch of talk. I'm not going to call it controversy, but a bunch of talk today about some of the comments that Stephen A. Smith made about the hire of Steve Nash. Now, Stephen A. Smith said that this is a white privilege hire, and that was something that caught the eyes and ears of a lot of people, simply because we're not used to hearing Stephen A. say stuff like this, right? Like calling something. I mean, we definitely know that Stephen A. can stand on the side of black people, but we also know that Stephen A. is a corporate man, and we understand that some people, Terrell Owens even went on First Take and said, you know, a lot of folks in the streets believe Max Kellerman is blacker than you, Stephen A. And of course, I'm not going to stand for that. And we know that Stephen A. took great offense to that. But to hear him call this a white privilege hire is very interesting, because basketball is different than a lot of sports. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit and tell you why he called it a white privilege hire, and it's mainly because there were a lot of great black candidates available for the Brooklyn Nets to hire that had coaching experience, that have championships, that have a lot of wins in the NBA. So that was part of it. The other part of it was the current social justice movement that we're currently in. He believes that it would have been a great statement to hire a black coach with experience during this climate. And third of all, it's because Kyrie and Kevin Durant were the people that made this call, right? Like Kyrie and Kevin Durant, the Nets aren't going to hire a head coach without their approval. So obviously this went through their two biggest stars, Kyrie and KD, before they hired Steve Nash. And those guys seem to have signed off on it. That's the only reason Steve Nash will get hired. Now, in basketball, I don't think this is a white privilege hire. There's plenty of times when there's white privilege hires across sports, in the world, everywhere. So I'm going to disagree with Stephen A. on that. And this is why. Because in the NBA, things are a lot different. Former players get a lot of opportunities and chances that they probably don't deserve. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Jason Kidd got hired as a head coach with no experience. Mark Jackson got hired as a head coach with no experience. Steve Kerr got hired as a head coach with no experience. So did Isaiah Thomas. So did a lot of these players. And most of those guys I just named, most of them except for Kerr, were all black, right? Steve Nash is getting the same chance. James Jones is the GM of a team right now with no experience. Elton Brand is the GM of the Sixers right now, no experience. So, this happens in basketball. One thing about the NBA, they recycle a lot of coaches. Tom Thibodeau, Mike D'Antoni, a lot of these other guys, they get recycled a whole bunch. Back in the day was Larry Brown and stuff. They always get recycled, and they hire guys with no experience. I mean, for whatever reason. Michael Jordan was hired as a team president with no experience of running a team, right? So that is not a foreign language to NBA teams or to the NBA culture. So that's why I'm not crazy mad or about the whole white privilege thing about the Steve Nash hire, because that's what NBA teams do. And if your superstar players have signed off and said, we want him, because the thing is, we don't know, but Kyrie and KD, they might have handpicked Steve Nash. Steve Nash was working as an analyst for a soccer network, right? But he was also a consultant to the Golden State Warriors during their championship runs with Kevin Durant. So him and Kevin Durant have a close relationship. So there's a great chance that Kevin Durant handpicked Steve Nash to be his next head coach over in Brooklyn. So I wouldn't call it a white privilege thing, but it is interesting to hear Stephen A. Smith say that. And he brought up his valid points. I'll let you go check those out because I don't want to speak for him, but I kind of try to summarize it as best as possible. But in the NBA, in that culture, we see guys get hired with no experience all the time. Yes, they could have went out and got Ty Lue. Yes, they could have kept Jacques Vaughn, who did a pretty good job guiding them through the playoffs, even though they got beat, but getting them to the playoffs and guiding them through there. Yes, they could have kept him, or went out and got Sam Cassell, or went out and got, a plethora of black assistant coaches across the NBA and college basketball. But they decided to go with Steve Nash because I believe Kevin Durant had a lot to say in choosing his head coach with the Brooklyn Nets. You let me know. Do you believe the Steve Nash hire was a white privilege hire? I'm saying no, but you let me know in the comments. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Ball Sports Network. Thank you guys for the continued support. Continue to like, share, subscribe, thumbs up. I'll see you next time.